So hopefully we are live. Mm, I just want to hear my voice if that is working or not, and then we will continue with Docker. Shall I reduce my mic sensitivity to 75%? Okay, so from OBS it is 100%. Uh, just now let's me move back to 50%, and let's see that if it actually makes some difference or not. So it has significantly reduced uh, noise in the background, and I hope that is working. Cool, cool, cool. Now everything is working, so we can move back to our console and start with today's work or study in Docker. Labctl playground list, and this is the particular playground which I want to playground restart. It is going to take some time. Meanwhile, let's read this. At a time of writing, Docker debug is a new tool and requires pro team business subscription. It is widely accepted. It's a widely accepted good practice to deploy small images containing only the app code and dependencies. This means no shell or debugging tools, and is a big part of making images and containers small and secure. Okay, labctl search. Cool, that shall work. Great. So however it makes Docker images, however it also makes it difficult to debug them when things go wrong. This is where Docker debug comes to rescue by allowing you to get shell access to images and containers that don't include a shell, seamlessly injecting powerful debugging tools into them. At a high level, Docker debug works by attaching a shell to a container and mounting a toolbox loaded with debugging tools. This toolbox is mounted as a directory called nix and is available during your debugging session but is never visible to the container. As soon as you exit Docker debug session, the nix directory is removed, and if you are debugging a running container, any changes you make are immediately visible to the container and persist across containers restarts. For example, updating index.html during a Docker debug session will immediately update the running web app, and changes will persist if the container is stopped and restarted. If you're debugging an image and stopped container, Docker debug session creates a debug sandbox and adds it to the image as a RW layer to make it feel like a running container. However, changes you make while debugging an image or stopped container are not persisted and are lost as soon as you quit the debug session. Okay, if you have been following along, you will have a running container called ddctr. Did I have docker ts? No, I do not have. I do not have ddctr. Where the okay, yeah, I have ddctr. I think I have ddctr. Docker run dd no ddctr command is there. Docker run name bash. So from docker run hyphen help it ubuntu bash. Response from daemon config is already in use by container. Okay, so we have a container. Docker ps, docker images, docker run. Okay, ddctr. So instead of ddctr, dd ddSctr. Okay, so we are inside the container. Control pq docker ps However, changes you make while debugging an image or stopped containers are not persisted and lost as soon as you quit the debug session. If you have been following along, if you don't, you can start by run the following command to attach to the container and see if it has debugging tools. Following docker attach command is similar to docker exec command you learned earlier, but automatically connects to the container's main process. So let me docker attach 90 ddSctr. Cool. We have attached ourselves. Vim is not there, ping is not there. Commands all failed because none of the tools are installed in this container. This would make debugging this container difficult without docker debug. Type control pq to gracefully disconnect from the container without killing the bash process. In the following steps, you will use docker debug to get a shell session to the container and run commands that aren't properly installed in the container. You can even use docker debug to get shell access to the container and images that do not include a shell. You need to log into docker to use docker debug, and it only works if you have pro team business license. So we need to log in inside docker. साइन अप कैसे करते हैं डॉकर के लिए? Sign in. Continue with GitHub. Authorize Docker. Well, I'm not going to log in inside. So Aashish. Send me occasional products. Sign up. Okay, cool. Just want to check if I'm properly audible or not. youtube.com. Okay, I'm audible. Audible. Run the following to check your Docker debug CLI Docker info. Command to check if you have Docker debug CLI plugin. All modern version of Docker desktop include this by default, but the Docker installations may not have it. You will have to install it manually. docker info grep CLI. We have build, we have compose, we have debug. No, we don't have docker debug. You have plugin installed, you are ready to use docker debug. The format of the command is docker debug image container. Shall I log in inside this machine? Docker login. Submit your device code over here. What is how switch to sign in? Docker login -u username. Docker login -u username would be iamtheaashish. Personal access token will be used. Instead, create pat visit. Okay, let me create it on the go, and I will delete it after this stream ends so that you don't push anything bad. So company, student, location, let's give them our location. I reside in New Delhi as of now. theaashish.github.io. github.io isn't a valid website URL. What the fuck? Only used to display avatar, gravatar, email. I don't have gravatar, so let it be. Fuck you. Personal access tokens. Generate a new token. Public repo read and write, read write delete will be used. Expedition date, custom time, custom. Let's suppose this will end at access token description. Nothing, just for practice. Generate. It has revealed my token to everybody. Oh shit. It has revealed my access token to everybody, but no problem because hopefully nobody would be watching right now. Now let's see docker info grep debug, docker info grep CLI, docker info containers running, driver swarm, inactive runtimes, run C, default runtime, security options, docker root directory, debug mode false. How can we turn on this debug mode? Docker help grep debug -d enable debug mode. Docker -d. Okay, debug mode inside global options. Docker command is -debug -help. Clear. So docker debug images docker ps. So essentially inside this container, docker debug. Let's try this. Docker debug is no command. So one of the first issues we have faced, -d, unknown clone command, docker attach -d flags. So instead of unknown shorthand flag -d bug unknown shorthand flag options container docker attach -help weekend detach keys docker ps docker attach, or we are inside it. Vim again not found. Now we'll dive in debug approaches. Hmm. Hmm. Control Shift Control PQ Docker debug DDS hyphen CTR. Huh? Why is it happening with me? Why is it happening? Debug CLS slim images no shell. There are no shell. Okay, my container has shells. Okay, managing the toolbars using docker run -d. Docker is already running. Nmap docker debug hello world. So what I'll do is chatgpt.com. It's Docker Pro. Okay, cool. Docker desktop is paid. Let it be. I'm not worrying about if it is paid. Because no, somebody is calling. Who is these? Successfully connected to running container. I got new shell prompt. You also got some helpful info. ns lookup running the ns lookup command again. Command attached to running container and the troubleshooting commands that are part of container. You have also seen how install additional tools to Docker debug toolbars. Remember, any changes you make to running containers are immediately visible to the container and persist after you close the session. Then the following to create new Docker debugs. It won't work. Exit in summary, self-healing containers with restart policies. Container restart policies are simple form of self-healing. At local Docker engine is automatically To apply restart policies per container, Docker supports 4 policy, no on failure, always unless stopped. The following table show how each policy reacts to different scenarios. If Y indicates the policy, if Y indicates the policy will attempt to container restart, whereas N indicates it won't. Policy no. When daemon restarts, when Docker stop command, तो सब में no होगी. Zero exit code. On failure, no. Zero exit code, yes. Zero exit code, no. Docker stop command, no. When restarts, yes. Always, yes. No. Unless stopped, yes. Non-zero exit code. Zero exit code, yes. Non-zero exit code indicate failure occurred. Zero exit code indicates the container exited normally without an error. But you should also do your own testing. Let's demonstrate the always policy by starting a new interactive container with. Then we will type exit to kill the shell process in the container to see what happens. Always way. Okay. So first, Docker stop Docker stop ps Docker images Docker RMI 1 to 24. Delete must be forced. -F flag. Cool. Easy. Let's demonstrate the always policy by starting a new interactive container with restart always flag and telling it to run some shell process. We'll then type exit to kill container, see what happens. Run the following command to start an interactive container called never say die with always restart policy. Docker run -name never say die -interactive restart always alpine sh. Your terminal will automatically connect to the shell process inside the container. Okay, we are inside SSL. Your terminal type exit to kill the shell process. Turn to your local terminal. This will cause the container to exit with zero exit code, indicating normal exit without any failures. According to the previous table, always restart policy should automatically restart the container. Container is running as expected. This is because you forced it to exit when you killed the shell process. The Docker automatically restarted it. It is also important to know that Docker restarted the same container and didn't create a new one. In fact, you run Docker inspect against it, you will see the restart count has been incremented to 1. Docker inspect. What is the name? Never say die. Never say die. Yeah. Restart count. Restart count 1. Giraffe restart is always. Policy is that if you stop a container with Docker stop and then restart a Docker daemon, Docker will restart the container when the daemon comes up. To be clear, you start a new container with -. You manually stop it by Docker stop. You restart the container. or an event causes Docker to restart. When Docker comes back, it starts the stopped container. Let's stop policy. If you're working with Docker Compose and Docker stacks, you will apply restart policies to services as follows. We'll cover these in more details in more chapter. Cleanup. You can run Docker images, Docker PS 8. If you want to see images you pulled, containers you created as part of this chapter, your output should be similar to this. You can delete individual Docker RM, Docker stop, never say die, and then Docker to remove the container, then remove the Docker image. Docker RM never say die, Docker RMI never say die. Okay, so we have Alpine latest, clear Docker PS Docker images, delete individual containers by Docker RM -f command, and then Docker RMI to always delete the containers before images. You can also delete all containers, all images with following two commands. We want through that they don't prompt you for confirmation. RMI Docker -q containers, the commands control pq exec, I know, sigdom, sigkill, all these I studied when I was learning Red Hat Enterprise Linux. RAM Docker inspect did, Docker debug did. Containerizing an application. So break should be taken or not? Break should be taken. So guys, I'm going to test my new microphone right now. So you won't hear some. How is my audio right now? How is my audio? I think people are able to hear it properly, or but I need to check it. I need to confirm it myself. Need to confirm it myself, obviously. Uh, YouTube.com. The Aashish. Microphone should be set on 100%. And now let's see how is my voice. Now let's see. Now let's see. Microphone should be set on 100%. And now let's see how is my voice. Now let's see. Now let's see. Bad. This mic is bad. It should only be used to listen music. So should be 50%. Now the things will be working very well. Sorry for the disturbance. Really sorry for the disturbance. Let's follow along. I recommended you to follow along with Docker Desktop. This is because we'll be using a new Docker init command, which might not be installed on another version of Docker only if you don't have Docker installation with Docker init plugin. Get application. Application we'll be using is a simple Node.js web app that serves web page on port 8080. You will still need to clone the app repo and then run the following command to clone it. Need git installed. This will create a new directory called book. Git clone https github.com निकल हाँ दे रहा हूँ guys 1 second. Okay. Now it is asking my username. The Aashish. I am the Aashish. Oh, git clone. Why do I have to? Yeah, why do I have to? So this page is not available. Did I correctly write the spelling? Bolton. Oh, yes, this is publicly available repository. I think I made mistake. Cloning, yeah, this thing is there. So Git was assuming that might be a private repository, and that's why it was asking my username. Maybe. Schedule Docker release April Docker model Swarm a chapter ls cd dd Docker deep dive book ls cd node app clear ls hyphen l. We have package cat sample docker file. This directory is your build context because it contains the application source code and the files listing dependencies. Let's create Docker file. Create the Docker file. In past, you had to create Docker files manually. Fortunately, new version of Docker support Docker init command that analyzes the application and automatically creates Docker file that implement good practices. Run the following command to create a Docker file for the app. If your Docker installation does not have Docker init plugin, you will have to skip this step. Docker init. Unknown command, obviously. Feel free to accept the new version of Node.js, but complete all the programs prompts as shown. Docker init about your application. Choose which version of Docker init plugin. How to download Docker init. Docker init. Just search on the Google. How can we install it? Docker requires Docker desktop, which I don't have. Docker init CLI command. Run Docker init project repository. Hmm. Can you use Docker init command in Docker CLI only without Docker desktop? Yes, you can without, but with Linux Docker Engine CLI, no Docker required. Docker desktop is required. यार है ही नहीं ना, है ही नहीं. Docker init unknown command docker init sudo dnf install docker init. Cool. I think it should install, yeah, it should install. Cool. Yeah, docker init sudo dnf install docker init. So it is essentially skipping the things. यार CLI तो है ही. I do have CLI. This is now nothing is broken. You're using Docker CLI plugin, not Docker itself. Docker version. Docker version. It is, my version is 29 point. Not classic. It is provided by. One second. Ah. Back. Docker version requires Docker CLI version greater than 24x. My Docker client, Docker engine is very CLI. Docker. Git version, Go version, API version. Let me show it too. Keyline Docker. Where is it? Which Docker init? No Docker init. Clear Docker init. Command not found. Docker init help. Init help is also not there. Run Docker options. Bridge must be. Not able to comprehend it. Docker init install Linux. Ooh, Ubuntu Docker docs, how to install Docker init install, when to use this, best practices. Init ChatGPT. How to install it? So symlink is missing. Labyrinth @fedora. Show warning. So command -v docker init. No. Sudo make dir, sudo lmsf. Exactly. The real test. Docker info. Init should see. I'm just pasting my whole output too. Fedora behaves like this. Important insight: Fedora follows strict packaging rules. Oh, fuck. We do have Docker in it. Front time, low level. Fedora plus Docker CE. Web plugins. Docker info. Get no init. When you install no document, anything would be hacky and unsupported. Do not choose Docker init. Is convenience, beginner oriented and optional. So you can write it ourselves. It is just something related to changes to Docker file, new versions of Docker support Docker init command. Feel free to accept the new version. Okay. It looks like this. So vim docker file, caps lock is on, arg node underscore version equal to 20.8.0 from node dollar, okay, opening and closing braces, caps lock, node underscore version hyphen alpine node env production workday where the app will run, user src app run hyphen mount equal to type equal to bind source equal to package.json, target equal to package.json, type equal to bind source equal to package. I am just copying things. Someone has to write docker file. Target equal to package -lock dot json mount. Wow, mount is not mount equal to type equal to cache target equal to root dot npm backslash npm ci omit equal to dev user node copy dot expose 8080 cmd node app.js wq cat docker file cat sample docker file argument node alpine production env equal to production. It should be equal to node in production environment variables. That is for environment variables. Docker file j I containerize the app. In this section you will build the application into container. If your Docker installation does not have Docker, you didn't follow them, you need to rename the sample file to Docker before you continue to run the command. So instead of rm-rf Docker file, we will just rename sample Docker file to Docker file ls. Okay, we just renamed it. Be sure to include the trailing period at this. Tell it to use your current working directory as a build context. Dot. The build context where app files live. Okay, Docker build. Docker build -t ddd -book ch8.node Docker build. I entered it correctly. 4 numbers step, local metadata, check this image in Docker host repository, and then this image will find app as an OCI image. Run Docker inspect. See the such as expose port entry points. Docker images. Cool. This is it. Little less compared to Docker inspect images. Docker inspect We will mention the ID simply, and we can see all these layers: architecture, root FS, then metadata, then descriptor. Image has 7 layers. When only 4 Docker file instructions created the layer, this is because non is a pretty based on 4 layers. Therefore, from instruction pulled with 4 layers, then work there, run copy instructions as a 3 more layers. You can figure copy cat Docker file from copy expose run npm push the image to Docker Hub. This is an optional section. You will need Docker Hub account to follow along. Go to hub.docker.com, sign up for one now. Then we'll complete the following steps. Log into Docker, retag the image. We have to push it. Docker login तो हो रखा है हमारा, कर टैग है, टैग dd, current tag is this, new tag should be tag for same image. So I will prefer iamtheaashish node.js app. Okay, fine. Push it to Docker Hub. You will need to be logged in with the Docker ID for this to work. Docker push, and then we'll push it back. iamtheaashish docker.im.js. Let's insert. Check container is running and verify the port mapping. Test the app. Okay, to test the app, you need to go to labs.exemus.com, and then you have to expose the port 8080. That's going to be little bit of work. 8080, and from here we can expose it. Hopefully the container might be running. 8080 is not loading, so instead of, I prefer using this. Now it shall load. Connecting to node application, curl localhost, 8080 Docker images, Docker ps. Okay, so image has not been started. Docker run and dd. Okay, Docker run. So it started in the background. Wait for it. Images are being moved up. is it taking so much time? Docker has to work behind. Okay. Host on Docker 555 5005. We have to expose that port. Okay. So instead of exposing that port, we have to expose 5005 port for public. Hope that should work. That should work. Going to take some time. I'm going to piss. I'm going to have a piss and then I'm going to return and then see if it is working or not. I am assuming that Docker ran this mm, image in background. So now that we have exposed this port, let's go and test it. No, 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 man, no, no, man, no, man, no, man, no, man, no, man. Something or the other is wrong with it. Control C, Control D. Okay, let's wait. Control C, Control C. Forcefully exiting. Clear. Docker PS. Status up 7. Yankee Hellman. Docker attach. Frankie Hellman. Bullet. इसमें बैश तो होगा भी नहीं, समझ रहे हो? बैश होगा भी नहीं. Forcefully exiting. Okay, so on port 8080 TCP localhost 5005 5050 and 8080. We test it on 8080. No, we are not getting anything. Yeah, not getting anything. Oh. How about we categorize someone else's application? CD rm-rf and dd book Docker images. I'm going to categorize someone else's application and see if that works or not. dd book images Docker PS Docker stock dd Frankie Hellman, and I know that it is going to take forever to stop this application. What we'll do Node.js web. Can we just go on GitHub and search Docker rm Frankie Hellman Docker rmi dd book rmi iamtheaashish no tagged. GCP project with Terraform. These people do not understand systems better. They will just copy projects from some course and they will put it inside the resume, try to fool the interviewer, and in 1 or 2 months they are exposed. Their knowledge is very less and they get scoldings from their senior engineers. Node.js web app. Content management system, monkey testing libraries, faster way to deploy with React, Docker base images for Ruby, web apps, passenger Docker website. Can we just put the whole thing inside web app, simple backend and web app made in Python. Angular updated yesterday. Restaurant website. Restaurant landing page, JavaScript, updated in 2024, responsive using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay. Assets, they have style dots, SCSS, JS, main.js. How does this look? Yeah, we can containerize this thing. But I'll have to generate the Docker file using my VS Code. Built a simple site design, restaurant landing page. Even this is good. Landing page without GitHub, without JavaScript. Sorry, without JavaScript. Node.js. Using Node.js and MongoDB. I'm not going over MongoDB. Please do not give me MongoDB. Node.js calculator. If we are able to deploy Node.js calculator, then yes, we can do different things. They also have a Docker file for it, which is great. Cut, clear, git clone. Now we're pulling the calculator. Git ignore, Docker file, Docker ignore, license, readme, package.json, API, different kinds of things. Azure DevOps that can be presented in continuous integration tool like Azure DevOps. Who is he? Who's this person? Dependabot. And Thompson, he is product and maintainer of libgit2. Put pure C implementation of Git core methods provided by formerly product and engineering at Versal, GitHub and Microsoft, Cambridge. Sponsors are two development program members. Git, he has worked in Git and he's a programmer. Arctic Code Vault, libgit2. He's a big person and he has made this. Then this might be something great. ls cd calculator, ls. Now the thing was expose port, cat node.js docker default port 5005, port 80, node.js default port. It can also run on port 3000. So I will not expose ports for now. Let it be. ls cat docker file. It is telling us to expose port 3000. What was the command? Docker buildx. I did not run this with. Okay. Sure. Docker images, Docker login, Docker tag, push to Docker. So we have to build the image. Docker build -d calculator. imd node yes, and then I hope that this. So I know my mistake. I did not expose the port correctly, and that is why the problems were happening. we have to essentially run the program with this. So over here this person has used port 3000 as his default port in Dockerfile, so I will have to use 3000 over this command. So now what I'll do is clear docker run hyphen d hyphen name c1 and then hyphen p port, and it is going to be 3000 obviously, exposed connected to. Okay, so essentially this port belongs to server and this port belongs to client, which is our machine, and this port belongs to socket of Docker. I just learned it today, API application programming interface. Docker images, hyphen name c1 hyphen p 3000 8080 calculator node.js. Okay, now it is running in the background. What does D mean? Detached? Docker run docker run hyphen help. D must mean detached as far as my previous knowledge is concerned. Docker ps. So if I do curl localhost 8080 could not connect, cool. 3000 the question something I cannot understand as of now. So what I'll do is I'll expose the port 3000 from it and let's see what happens. If it does not work, then the problem I cannot figure it out because I don't know Node.js and backend engineering as properly. I just want to practice Docker images, Docker ps, Docker stop c1, Docker stop c1. C1 is stopped. Shall I close it? Shall I leave it? Expose HTTP port. Shall I expose just 8080 because 8080 should be exposed. For public it should be exposed. Suppose I will copy it over here. Obviously it won't work because two sockets are not communicating, so how would it work? cd rm-rf calculator docker rm c1 docker rmi calculator node.js clear docker ps-a docker ps-q. Nothing. What I'll do is I'll just go and from the starting I'll have to do it again. Okay, cool. Git clone copy. Then we have to move inside this folder dd book node app ls, and then we have sample docker file, so we are going to change that sample docker file to docker, simply docker file. And then what we have to do, docker init we cannot do, docker init docker images build. Okay, so docker build -t dd book ch8 dot node dot cool. Now it will build, and now then we have to start it using docker tag nickel Paulton. We have already pushed this application, so docker run -d for detached, name c1, and then port we will expose 5005 for node application, and 8080 we have to expose it on our local machine. docker run से c1 ही होगा, नेम तो c1 अभी हम रख रहे हैं. एक मिनट, first I will copy the image name from docker images ddc. Okay, can we just enter the id over here? Docker run -d attached -name c1 -p 8080 nickel Paulton. So essentially we are just giving it Paulton ddd book ch8 dot node. Simply I'm just naming. Okay, yeah, I just entered the id and now it has started. Here docker ps, and then the container is running with the container port, which is transferring its information from its socket to socket of this application. Now we can see if we reload, so 8080 has been exposed publicly. Now let's see if that works or not. It won't, yeah, it won't. Localhost TT failed to connect 5005. Okay, so we don't have to expose 8080, we have to expose 5005, and then it will work. Nothing, see, no LD upstream. 5005 expose. Okay, now things are working. Docker ftw. ftw means Google ftw meaning for the win, express fucking the world, fuck the world, fuck the world. So we are essentially running a container. Test the app. I did. What is then happening with docker ps? It passes docker file one line and installing from top to bottom. Per case example, the instruction docker history command against the image and see the instruction it created. Clear docker history and then dd. So from this is the latest command. Essentially, if you think the worth noting on bottom lines that I have snipped from the book related to history is pulled from instruction, pulled by the from instruction. So all these things are pulled by from instruction inside the docker file. Created by column is the exact document, created the layer and meta created by. Where is created by? Okay, created by. Okay, cool. layer material lines with zero docker and inspect to see the list of image layers. Docker inspect dd tab dd book inspect. So inspect does not work with. So these are the layers with their own hashes which uniquely identify every one of them. I don't remember the exact name of the hash, but okay. Docker file instructions to emulate board instruction with the arrows. Create layers are the metadata layer IDs. Layers have different IDs. Older builder and create a layer for work their instruction. However, in the instruction modify the file system permission. Create current builder creates a very small layer. This behavior may change in the future. Okay. Moving to multi-stage builds. When it comes to container, big is bad. For example, big means slow. Big means more potential vulnerabilities. Big means larger attack surface. How much is left here? How much is left? It is a lot. At a high level, firstly, let me kill this docker stop c1. Okay, docker rm c1 docker rmi tab deleted. They have deleted. This was the edge. Big means slow. For the reason your container should be only the stuff needed to run your application in production. This is where multi-stage builds come into play. At a high level, multi-stage build uses a single Docker file with multiple from instructions, and each from instruction represent a new build stage. Okay, this allows you to have a stage where you can do the heavy lifting of building the app inside a large image with compilers and other tools. But then you have another stage where you copy and the compiled. Oh, let's leave it for some time. I'm going to exercise. I'm not in state of doing it again. For how long have we been streaming?